Today is the 7th of August. It's 3:15 and I'm walking to Orizon. Flo's back today. It's Thursday, 34 degrees or something. It's funny, I find it therapeutic doing these things. But last night and the night before, I was trying to listen back to some stuff that I'd done in 2021 and even 2020, and I can't listen to them because I find them so boring. I was kind of hoping that, 5 years is a bit of a time to have passed, and maybe you start to become a little lost to the subject matter, and so you listen back and you think, I remember this or that, but it's not long enough, nowhere near it. And so when I start talking about something, be it the Connemara or job or holidays, or I know what I'm going to say and I don't want to hear it. I'm fed up listening to myself. So I'm not able to get more than a few minutes into one audio. It's the same with the stuff I've done on cassette tape. It's like endlessly droning on about the stage in Carrefour or whatever, or the boulangerie in Manosque from February. I just don't want to hear it anymore. But still, I like the process of doing them. So I'll keep doing them, perhaps at some point in the future. Let's say 10 years if I'm still here. Maybe then they may, when I'm old, if I get old, it might be interesting. I'd find it hard to delete that channel now, the Dislife channel, because even if it's fucking possible to listen to, the boringest thing, but I've put so much effort into that. I've got like about 230 different audio files up there on the channel. That's a lot of uploads. And even on the tapes, I was looking during the week, I must have 20 tapes filled with me talking or venting or talking nonsense. And I'm also a bit worried about some of them because they contain some material I wouldn't really want people to hear, if you know what I mean. I don't even like talking about it now. But it's obvious from some of the stuff what's happened. And I would not want Flo to get a hold of any of this stuff or listen to it. So there's a part of my mind says, fucking delete everything then. Of course, I don't have to delete everything. And the stuff online, I don't even think Flo could find that. It's like, I don't think she's connected to that channel at all. I don't think she'd stumble on it or anything. And if she did, there's just no way she'd listen to it. And as for the cassettes, can I really ever see Flo rummaging around finding a cassette and wanting to hear it? She's never done that in the past, so it's a slight paranoia, I suppose, on my behalf. But this week was like that. It started off by me drinking some stuff and having a pretty fucking terrible day, and that's still on my mind, even though that was Sunday. Today's Thursday. It was just a bad experience, On the good side, I was very careful with sticking to my principles of secrecy. And the only person saw me were two Chinese guys, I think, that were in the river. But as I was walking past them, I was listening to Freebird And I was playing my imaginary air guitar, and I kind of at one point stopped and faced them, and that bothered me. It was like, shit, how would they have seen that? Did they think I was taking the piss out of them? This is kind of paranoia. And fear. Acres of fear. Fear of fucking everything. I was thinking last night about my dad and how I kind of almost forgotten about this, but when people would arrive in the house, people from work and stuff, the expression on his face would change and his eyes would change. And I remember as a teenager finding this so noticeable, because he wasn't the same person that would normally just sit there and watch the TV and be very relaxed, and the eyes were a specific way. His eyes would get bigger, and he'd have a nervous smile on his face all the time. And then I think maybe he was a man. He was a big man. He was bigger than me, but he must have lived with a lot of fear as well. It's like it must have been there. And I know I have it now. I don't know how my eyes change. It's a terrible thing because nobody likes that. Nobody likes somebody kind of panicking at the slightest problem. So this week, and again, this is nice to vent, but if I ever come around to listening to this again, I won't have even got this far probably, because from a listening point of view, for me anyway, I know the story, so it's like pointless to listen to, but I think it's important to say it. And there's something, I've said this numerous times, there's something about the recording of it which makes it a more powerful experience than if I'm just talking and then the words are just going into the air. Although there may come a time I wish I'd done that instead of this. I don't know. I looked forward to this week for a while, and I guess it's an imaginary sense in me of what it's going to be like. I'm going to do this and that. I'm going to be able to do exactly what I want. I can laze around in bed. I can shut my mind off to all the worries about my eye or getting a job. I can just, for a week, I can just totally... And that ends up being such a load of bollocks, because it turns out I can't do any of those things. I had a nice thought lying in bed last night. I thought about the Maraval trip that I had last time, and about how really none of the girls had any interest in me whatsoever. In fact, probably nobody. And I was thinking, in a nice way, if you could embrace that, if you could embrace the fact that you don't mean anything, except maybe to 3 people. Sorry, I should have paused. But you don't mean anything. That's one thing. You don't really know anything. You don't know anything, and you don't particularly mean anything. And if you think, in a sense, if you embrace the worthlessness of your life, obviously to me it's not, and obviously I play music, and I feel incredibly privileged, because I think I have a reaction to music when I'm walking, which is not universal. But when you embrace that and you think, it doesn't matter, I don't want beer, it can be a relaxing thing, a kind of nice stoic affirmation that it doesn't matter. Because then all the stuff you're thinking about doesn't really matter either. And the things you feel are important are not really. And the worries you have are just, in the same sense, unimportant. Because the person having the worries is ultimately forgettable and unimportant. So everything about this person is unnecessary. Unnecessary, and therefore all the stuff you worry about, or all the anxiety you have, is unnecessary, pointless, because you're pointless. I was just looking under one of the concrete slabs here. There was a snail underneath. It's necessary to always find some affirmations or some psychological aids to help me move along, you know. These last few days, they haven't been bad by much stretch, except the Sunday going into Monday. I was sick as a dog. Couldn't believe it. I drank, and I just from 5 o'clock I more or less passed out. Woke up at 9. Did a few little transactions with the crypto. Kind of just added 150 because I thought, oh, we're going to go up for the next few days. And at 9 o'clock I said, you better go to bed because you don't want to. And I mean, I'd already slept from around 5. That was the day, you know. That was this day that I'd been looking forward to, because it was going to be this glorious fucking thing. And I might as well. I have to kind of vent in honesty here, so I have to say these things that I have to hope nobody hears, but because it's a secret. But I went shopping on Sunday and I bought a bottle of martini because I'd had that on my mind for so long. For so long I wanted to drink a couple of glasses of that. I said $10.50 for a bottle, and then I decided I'm going to buy 6 cans of that Latin American beer, Cerveza, so those stuff you drink with the lime. And I also, because I was curious about it, there was a beer called 8.6, and I think it's 7.9% volume. I'm going to get that as well. So I got all this stuff, and I came home on that Sunday morning, and Flo was gone because she had to go early. And I hit my peak moment when I was leaving the bin out, just 2 minutes after arriving back, and I said good Sunday to Bernard. And that was the peak moment. I thought, yeah, I got everything to look forward to. I'm going to have a great time. And then I drank the martini, and it was so easy to drink, with lemon and ice in my Rinkin King cup, and it was so easy to drink. I drank another one and another one. I drank about 5, I guess, or nearly half a bottle. But I didn't really feel very much. So then I thought, I'm going to go for a walk. So I went to the river and I found a little spot in the bushes, which I'm very happy about that at this point, because I was totally hidden. I mean, hidden from everybody. I was in the bushes. If you were standing right outside, you wouldn't have seen me. And at that spot, I drank the can of beer, 7.9%, and there's actually an audio clip here of me there. And I felt okay, you know. I remember it. I remember there was a nice spot on the ground that the beer fit. I remember looking at the canopy of little leaves sheltering me, and the fact that there was no insects, and I'm going on about whatever. And I heard a Japanese guy, 2 of them talking, and it felt good because there's no way they could see me. And then they moved up the river. These are the two guys I saw on the way out. And I proceeded to drink the beer, and then I put on Freebird and I walked home, and I don't really remember much more until waking up at, like, I don't know, sometime in the evening, and then maybe and doing some of the crypto stuff, and then going to sleep and waking up again at 9. But there was no hallelujah moment. There was no revelation. There was no sense of being free and drunk. There was nothing like that. I just drank the stuff, came home and collapsed, more or less, as if I hadn't slept in a week. And I arrived home, I would imagine, at 5. The whole day was gone. And then I thought, at 9, I thought, you better go to bed, because you don't want to keep lying on the couch here and I thought I was going to wake up at 2 o'clock and be wide awake, because I'd have slept for 7 hours, you know. So I went to bed, and there was no fear of that. I woke up again at 5 maybe with the kittens. And I wanted to try and feed them, and then I was so fucking sick I couldn't get myself out of bed. Which was a surprise. I thought because I did some stuff at maybe before 9, maybe 7, maybe 6, and I thought, well, that's it, because I was still obviously just in the midst of the alcohol at that point. But it felt like you've had a drink and now you're sobering up. It was, you know, that's it. But I wasn't. Every time I got up, it was that old thing where you walk a bit, you take a drink, and then you think, I'm going to throw up. I got to get back to bed. And that went on, and then I sweat like a man with the fever. Hours and hours of that shit. In a way, it was a blessing in disguise, because I sure as hell don't have much of a craving for martini anymore. And like I keep emphasizing, there was no magic moment. You know, even listening to Freebird coming out of the thing, it was probably the same as if I'd listened to Freebird sober. It didn't matter. It wasn't there was nothing. And then the next day, just paranoia and sick. I had to lay around, and I wanted to try and eat something, because I hadn't eaten a thing the day before. That was the thing. I didn't have the strength to even get myself something for a headache. It was just fucked. And the next day went on, and I don't know, maybe 8 o'clock in the evening, I managed to have a slice of toast. So that's that day gone. And the next day, I'm kind of paranoid about the bottles and this and that, so I have to get rid of them, and still feeling a bit groggy, and that's the whole fucking week, you know. That's what I did, and it just messes up the thinking completely. Just on a complete tangent, this Philips device, it's amazing how bright the screen is, even with the sun shining directly on it. I don't know, I guess I can see 1852, I can see number 8, it's really clear. I don't know, it's a different type of screen than the telephone. Anyway, today's Thursday, and I'm back to kind of feeling relatively normal, but like the way this thing started. I'm thinking I'm nothing anyway, not worth anything. Therefore my anxieties and my ambitions are not worth anything, so I have to lighten up, try and live a little bit, as somebody said today. Kind of being ashamed of buying stuff in the supermarket as well. There was the woman who used to be across the road from us in the Connemara, who may have an alcohol problem herself. She's a nice looking lady. I think she used to be the wife of the artist guy who painted me the Bowie thing that I didn't like. You always see him walking the dog. And she was behind me in the queue, you know. That's more paranoia, you know. So I'm not sure why you bring it up in conversation, but like I say, the only thing, the blessing in disguise thing. I've been saying this since day one. Your real problem would be if you started drinking something and you had a fucking hell of a time, brilliant time. If you just went to another place and you felt fantastic for 3 days, that would be a problem. It's much safer when it's all shit. And you have to ask yourself, why did I bother drinking? So where's the money? And why would you make yourself sick purposefully? I mean, of course I didn't think that would happen. But yeah, it did. I began thinking of my liver then. I thought, Jesus, maybe there's something wrong with my liver. Because of the liver, it takes time to kind of get rid of the toxins, and if there's a problem with your liver... Hello, you! Woo! If there's a problem with your liver, maybe that's going to show up in a scan. That's still actually a little frightening. And my scan is not till the end of the month, but can you imagine if they found, somehow they're able to find traces of alcohol poisoning in my liver. And can you imagine if they said, looks like you've been drinking recently, according to this, these are fresh, whatever. All these things. And there's such an easy way to put all this to bed, and that's just to stop. Or like I think I said at one point, you know, if you want to have a beer every now and again, it's not so bad if it's just a beer. The beers never drive you insane or anything, and they don't really bother you too much the next day. But I have to live with all this for the next couple of weeks now. And I feel bad. I feel bad that I'm back into this kind of thing. I feel bad I'm telling lies to Flo about this, you know. But I honestly can't. There's no chance of this ever being brought up. That's the vent. Obviously, I hope no one ever listens to this except me. Or some complete stranger somewhere in America or something. Hello to you. You can't tell on me. Could well be dead before anyone hears any of this stuff. Anyway, there's a shame attached to these activities, and the problem being that every time there's a bit of time, the effects wear off and I forget, and you know, 3 weeks come and Flo's going off again, and I'm back to the fucking thing of maybe this time it'll be wonderful. It's probably also fair to say that it's not necessarily because the alcohol. It's been a few days. I don't think the alcohol is the cause of the humours I've been in. They've been around for a long time. You could ask, well, are they worse this year than last year? And I don't think so. I've been in this kind of state for quite some time, looking for some kind of philosophical cure. And right now, the notion that I'm nothing. And also, importantly, that I know nothing. Genuinely don't know anything. And therefore, everything in my head is pointless. I might say the little bit of goodness in my soul that comes out listening to music, or my spirit. That's worthwhile. And that's good. But everything from my head, every bit of stress, every fear, is as worthless as me. Wouldn't it be a nice exercise to see if I could go through the day being nothing, signifying nothing? Adios.